Hello and welcome everyone. So today we are going to discuss the recently conducted General Studies Paper 1 of Mains Examination 2025, the society topics. So if I see the entire paper this year, this paper was more abstract in nature, more analytical in nature and way too easier in terms of your basically conceptual clarity. If there is there, you can easily address the demand of the question, and majority of the questions were as expected on the, you can say, line of the topics we discuss in the classroom. So let's see one by one what are these questions and how to address them in a manner which justify the demand of the question. So let's see the first question. How does smart cities in India address the issue of urban poverty and distributive justice? So we discuss in our topic urbanization, their problem and their remedies. One of the remedy of the urbanization related problem is a smart city. So what is a smart city? Smart city is a program which is flagship scheme of Government of India launched in year 2015. It was the basically Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. So this ministry in 2015 has launched this program, and the objective of this program was to create a world class cities that were having the various, you can say, technological driven, sustainable and inclusive urban growth, basically standard of living offered to the people. So its impact on urban poverty and distributive justice. So before we discuss that, again, what do you mean by urban poverty and distributive justice? So urban poverty is when you find the instances or phenomenon of poverty in urban area, where you will have people having difficulty in basically your attainment of, you can say, or having the food or shelter or clothing. And again, what is distributive justice? So there are two kinds of justice. One is retributional justice, second is distributive justice. Yeah, one is the justice where equal should be treated equally, and distributive justice will be equal treatment of equal and unequal treatment of unequal. So substantive or distributive justice is what the same. It is meaning some kind of, you can say, positive discrimination for the vulnerable or weaker section. So again, how does a smart city address this issue? So when we discuss about it in the introductory remark, what we are supposed to write is the smart city definition. So as such, universally acceptable smart cities definition is absent, but it take a analogy of a smartphone. So we define smart cities as those cities that uses information and communication technology for its better administration. So when we have any cities having use of information and communication technology for its better administration, in order to administer the law and order, in order to administer the traffic, in order to administer the overall living standard of the people, that cities would be called as a smart city. So in 2015, the Government of India decided to have 100 cities marked as smart cities in India. Now the goal to establish 100 cities of India at the global smart city standard was an ambitious goal, for which we have initiated the smart city mission. So what are the, you can say, procedures under it? So under the smart city mission, one of the objective was to provide the affordable housing. So in the smart cities, we have the implementation of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban, which is going to support the people who are houseless, or mostly those who are living in slums. So first thing in this smart city which will help the urban poor would be affordable housing. So affordable housing here refer to the aspects where you will have the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana expansion into smart cities. Here you have a recent example of Swabhiman apartment in Delhi, which is for support of slum dwellers or people who are living in slums. So it is also a kind of slum rehabilitation. Then we have in the urban development only PM Swanidhi scheme. It was initiated after COVID to provide the street vendor some kind of 10,000 rupees line of credit, so that they can take this loan from the government without any collateral and start their basically halted business or their street vending. So it is also for livelihood security. We have the provision under that. Similarly, other provisions. So whatever Ministry of, you can say, Housing and Urban Affairs schemes and programs are, we can interlink it with the smart cities, because they are having a convergence over this. So, third would be the digital governance. So, when we discuss about digital governance, we have established the integrated command and control centers, and the benefit of this is to have a, you can say, centralized control room to monitor the traffic, to monitor the garbage collection, to monitor waste management and all. So, it is to take our you can say centralized model to control over all these kinds of activities which are going on in the city. For instance, you have in Surat waste management control under, or waste management monitored under integrated command and control center. Then we have the, you can say, other aspects which is going to help the people in providing them some kind of distributive justice. So, one is the mobile, you can say, justice or mobility related justice. So, here real time traffic management is there. So, in real time traffic management, what we do is that you can track any place or route based on its traffic congestion, and if there is a traffic congestion, you will have some kind of, you can say, facility to decongest the traffic done at the level of integrated command and control center. Similarly, we have the smart city where public spaces are to be created, public spaces where people can basically come across. So, various public spaces in the form of public park, some public you can say areas related to, you can say, involvement or to, you can say, roaming around, or some basically pond is there, some reservoir is there. So, Chennai T Nagar Plaza was basically constructed to redistribute the road use fairly. Similarly, there were also some kind of, you can say, restriction on the you can say extraction of the vendors who are having the, you can say, street vending. Again, however, all these things are good at their end when we discuss about it. However, what happened is there is also risk. What is a risk? So, when we write the highlight of the good part, like in a smart city, you will have the door to door sanitation related basically collection of garbage. You will have the, you can say, plan to provide the smart meter and all. However, the risk is also the case that we have the vendor eviction possible. So, most of the time we see a beautification drive marginalize the informal workers. For example, when Ahmedabad riverfront was constructed, street vendors were forbidden from operating there. Similarly, in Sabarmati riverfront, whether or basically you can say Gomti riverfront, these kinds of things are restricted. So, this is not very inclusive, which is not allowing the poor to participate. Similarly, there is also a risk of gentrification. Gentrification risk means some areas in the smart cities will be creating a barrier for the basically people from the weaker section to enter. So, gated colony, closed colony would be another difficulty in adjusting the redistributive or the, you can say, distributive justice as well as urban poverty related issue. Then there is a risk of digital divide. So, people who are having very tech savvy and having the knowledge of digital usage, they will get the benefit out of it. Majority of them may not, who are illiterate or digitally not very much comfortable to use the digital devices, they will have a problem. Then also we will have the elite biasness. So, many of the places will be excluded for the entry of the, you can say, weaker sections. Similarly, in the basically various aspects, we find that exclusion of the poor people might be there. So, these kinds of aspects are the one which is going to have its own share or fair share of the risk. So, that way we can say that smart city are offering the mixed bag for the urban poor as well as for the distributive justice. Smart cities actually improve the housing, the sanitation, the infrastructure and the services, but it is also risk the deepening of inequalities. So, true distributive justice demand in situ slum rehabilitation, the digital literacy or promotion or inclusive governance. However, that things require the participation of all, and if that is not done, the cities are basically not as smart as for everyone expectation. So, these are another basically angle we have to write in our answer. So, our answer should have proper introduction in which we write about what is a smart city. Then the body part of our answer consists of two aspects. One is how smart city are trying to help in addressing the issue of urban poverty as well as the distributive justice. The second part should address how it will also poses a risk for creation of division among the poor and non-poor, creation of division among the literate and non-literate, the creation of division among the affluent and the basically non-affluent. So, all these kinds of exclusivity or exclusion for the weaker section is a riskier affair. So, we can say in conclusion that it is basically need to be taken care of. Right. Now, moving on to the next question, which is from the society topic, is ethos of civil services in India stand for combination of professionalism with nationalistic consequence. So, when we discuss about ethos of something, so here ethos means the spirit of something. So, spirit of the basically civil services, yeah, essence of civil services are the one basically in India which are stand for combination of professionalism as well as nationalistic consequence. So, when civil services was introduced in India post independence, so instead of it serving the rulers what it used to serve in the British time, the people are given a basically you can say main position, and the name was basically called as civil services, which is servicing to the people who are actually the sovereign in the Indian constitution and Indian society. So, here India's civil services were imagined to be steel frame that reflect the professionalism as well as the you can say promotion of nationalistic consequences. So, again here when we discuss about professionalism, we wanted civil services to be having the spirit of integrity, having impartiality, having efficiency as well as having the honesty as well as answerability. Along with that, they also supposed to pose the you can say national unity and constitutional nationalism. So, these are some of the aspects which is associated or expected from the civil services, because these are the ethos of the civil services. Now, how do we assure these ethos to be implemented on ground? So, first and foremost thing is the civil servant in India should maintain complete objectivity and impartiality. So, the decisions in civil services are not taken on emotion, the decisions are not taken on a partition manner, decisions are taken purely on the basis of the merit, purely on the basis of facts. So, again and also on the basis of rules. So, impartial rule of law is supposed to be followed to ensure the equal governance. For instance, we have all the civil servants who are supposed to basically follow the constitution, not any political party or not any verbal instruction by any ministers. So, here when we discuss about election commission enforcing the model code of conduct, it is basically above partition benefits and for the free and fair election. So, that is an implementation of the idea of impartial rule. Right. Similarly, when we discuss about the civil services in India, there is also a essence of social justice mandated into it. So, here various civil servants are the actual individuals or the professionals who are supposed to implement all the welfare scheme, whether it is Manrega, whether it is Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, whether it is the PM Ujjwala Yojana, whether it is National Food Security Act, all these kinds of Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana for that matter. So, they are supposed to have one of the work to impart social justice, and that is what they are basically supposed to basically follow, right. Then our civil servant are also supposed to be the you can say the promoter of development. So, here they will be development oriented administration which civil servant are supposed to administer. So, when we say development oriented administration, professional planning in various flagship mission like Smart City, Jal Jeevan Mission as well as Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, that balances the growth of the society, at the same time it will also ensure the equity. Then they are also for the disaster or crisis management. So, any time of crisis, any type of crisis or disaster occur in country, whether it is COVID, whether it is flooding, whether it is drought or whether it is basically any form of earthquake and other, the disaster management is also their responsibility. So, a common person should have a basically fallback option whenever such kind of disaster occur. The civil servant are supposed to have a very professional and a very basically you can say neutral response in that form of disaster, that strengthen the national trust on the civil services. Then they are supposed to have the utmost display of integrity Integrity is consistency in honesty, speech and action, and they are supposed to maintain the basically professional integrity at the basically all possible manner. So, we have various example like Mr. T. N. Session was there, who has inspired the trust. There were also various kinds of scam which are being unearthed because of the civil servants like Mr. Vinod Rai, who was a CAG at the time of 2G scam. Yeah, there were civil servant like J. M. Lingdo, who has conducted the free and impartially basically impartial or elections in various states of India. Similarly, we have civil servant who have promoted this kind of high integrity that basically ensure public trust into the administration, right. So, they are also known for this. Now, they are also supposed to protect the rights of the weaker section. So, protecting weaker section right in the sense the same civil servant under the Indian Forest Services are supposed to implement Forest Right Acts. The same civil servant under the police services are supposed to provide the justice to the basically poor plaintiff. The same civil servant as an administrative officer are supposed to provide the welfare programs and its expansion to the weaker section of the society, whether it is from the point of view of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, minorities, women's, person with disability, children's, elderly and all, right. Again, civil servant also have to ensure that we will have the, you can say, technological advancement. So, we have digital governance also, which is what civil services are or civil servant are supervising. So, in which we have various kinds of, you can say, digital governance. So, today we have Digital India program which is running successfully in providing various digital services to the common people, whether it is direct benefit transfer scheme, whether it is Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi scheme, whether it is student scholarship, whether it is Pratyaksh Hastantran Labh or Pahal, whether it is Umang or whether it is COVID during the time of COVID. All that increases the efficiency and reduces the chances of, you can say, corruption or bribery. Again, digitalization would be one of the you can say example. And again, also it is going to help in the field officers are including in the grassroots level are going to help in making the common person feel that government is there to basically take care of them. So, field level officer are going to have a grassroots impact that will provide a trust among the people and the, you can say, government. So, that is something where aspirational district program of our basically government is coming to handy, where many of the civil servants going to the ground and serving the people directly, and ultimately it is all have a same goal of nation building. So, civil service sustain the unity in diversity across the state and region, and that is why we have all India services where a person hailing from one state are posted into some other state. So, that way you are going to have this kind of, you can say, interstate deputation also, so that the strengthening of national unity will be ensured. So, all these mechanisms are actually part and parcel of ethos of India's civil services, which lies in the blending of professionalism of the highest order as well as the constitutional nationalism that ensure the efficiency, justice along with unity and diversity. So, that is another answer we can make up based on the our understanding related to governance, our understanding related to society, our understanding related to ethics, our understanding related to the partial polity section, right. Do you think globalization result in only an aggressive consumer culture? Justify your answer. So, when we discuss globalization, we will see various impact of globalization on the Indian society, in which cultural impact of globalization in Indian society is reflected into its food behavior, dressing pattern, music, dance form, language, festival and all. In that, we discuss that how globalization is affecting our basically, you can say, food behavior through McDonaldization, where more and more fast food outlet chain are opening in this country like India. Similarly, we have discussed about the impact of globalization on the purchasing habit in the form of Walmartization, where change in our purchasing habit are rising. So, what actually globalization do is that it is initiating more and more consumerism. So, when we say consumerism, yeah, consumer culture, here it refers to something which is purchase or buying things for fulfillment of the greed instead of need. So, consumer culture means when a person is going to fulfill their greed instead of need. So when we write about this answer, that does globalization actually results into aggressive consumer culture, and we have to make a justification also, our answer should consist of three parts. First is the introduction part, in which we define what do we mean by the term globalization and how it is related to consumeristic culture. Then we have body part subdivided into two parts. One is that it will support the argument, yes, in a way globalization is supporting the aggressive consumer culture, and the second part of our discussion in the body would be that no, it is not the case, it is also basically the reverse consumerism also in that way, and finally we will have a conclusion which is a opinion we have based on our argument. So when we discuss globalization, globalization is defined as a process of increased interconnectedness which seeks to integrate the world into social, economic, political, technological and cultural aspect. Globalization in simple word means integration of world economy, and it is also bringing some social transformation. So we can say that while it is undeniably promoting consumerism, because now we will have many products in our basically markets which earlier were not there, and they were also competitive pricing basically in the market, which is giving more option for the consumer to buy, that is leading to people end up buying things which is also not needed, that is buying to fulfill the discount greed, or to get the greed of, you can say, more in less price. So it is naturally promoting consumerism through these global brands. However, it is also impacting on the extent of basically, you can say, notion beyond materialism. Meaning when we have seen that many people are going for consumerism, many people are reversing that consumerism trend also. They are moving instead of going for materialism toward the spiritualism. So that is also happening. So when we write about this after the introduction, we will say yes, there is a aggressive consumerism. How aggressive consumerism is there? So George Ritzer, famous sociologist, wrote a concept called as McDonaldization. So McDonaldization is nothing but growth of fast food outlet chain in the basically various parts of the world including India, creating a standardized lifestyle. So we have McDonald's, Starbucks, or the KFC, Pizza Hut, Domino's, all are there in many cities of India. So that is consumerism only. Then brand driven identities. So we have Walmartization. So Walmartization is opening of retail chain outlet across the society where people are given heavier discount, so that you will have the more, you can say, desire or dopamine release or pleasure when you buy the things, and they are comparatively again expensive than the Indian options or products, and at the same time they are also going to have a, you can say, a status symbol. So that way it motivates the people to buy all those things. So Walmartization is when retail chain outlet are there, which is very convenient, offering convenience to the people to buy things at one store. So these things are also promoting consumerism. Then we have also the brand driven, you can say, identities. So you can see that now brand consciousness or brand driven identities are being established, where there is an obsession toward the luxury items like iPhone, branded clothes, branded basically, you can say, shoes, branded, you can say, cosmetics and all. So whether it is Nike, Zara, iPhone, all are basically promoting consumer culture in that way. So we find that these aspects of the globalization are causing some kind of more and more consumerism. However, at the same time, consumerism is also promoting the, you can say, globalization. So when we discuss the concept of globalization, it is given by Robertson, again a sociologist, who says that when global basically, you can say, companies are adopting to the local customs and tradition. So if you see that now various kinds of global firms, whether it is McDonald's selling aloo tikki at their counter, or Netflix selling the regional programs in their, you can say, platform, yeah, various OTTs, yeah, various other basically Indo-Western kind of dressing brought by many Western brands. So that is the reverse of, you can say, the situation when we are promoting the consumerism. Rather, it is also promoting the Indian culture at the, you can say, global platform. So this is also the case. Similarly, we are seeing that there is a growth of online education platform that is promoting the knowledge, you can say, knowledge orientation through online education program like Coursera is there, that you will have TEDx is there, you will have various kinds of platforms again spreading the global, you can say, learning to the Indian student. Now they can easily attend the MIT lecture, Caltech lecture or Columbia University lectures available free of cost on various basically portals. So that is also against the spirit of consumerism. Similarly, we have also observed that it is promoting global awareness and consciousness. So, global awareness and consciousness, in that way, if we move into the sociological aspect, there is a sociologist named Arjun Appadurai who has studied about ideascapes. So, ideascape is something where an idea is getting a global recognition, whether it is Me Too movement, Black Lives Matters or climate change or various kinds of activism against the terrorism and the basically global resonance toward the common idea. So, that is also global awareness generation. And lastly, we can say that instead of consumerism, it is promoting hybridization, blending of the different cultures. Blending of different culture in that sense that Indian wedding features both Bollywood dances as well as global trends like destination ceremonies. Similarly, you will see adoption of selective modernity keeping tradition intact is also the case. So, these are the aspects we will be highlighting in our answer, which is a intermix of you can say aggressive consumerism and the basically you can say awareness or hybridization or globalization. So, that way you can basically make our answer more inclusive. So, that way we can have a conclusion that globalization does fuel the consumeristic tendency, but it also enable the cultural hybridization, blending of knowledge as well as sharing of the global solidarity and concerns. It is not necessarily consumeristic always. So, it is a mixed bag which offer both the aggressive consumerism and space for the cultural resistance to this kind of blind consumerism. So, this is another aspect. Now, इसी से मिलता जुलता क्वेश्चन है, again, how do you account for the growing fast food industries given that there are increased health concerns in modern society? Illustrate your answer with Indian experience. So, it is again asking us to explain that growing fast food industries like you can say the McDonald's, KFC's, Pizza Huts and all, given that there is an increased health concern in modern society. So, when we discuss about these kinds of issues, we are observing that India is at double burden or dual burden of malnutrition. So, dual burden of malnutrition meaning on one hand we are suffering from large number of our population suffering from you can say the situation of undernutrition where they do not have a balanced nutrition to make them sustain, they are suffering from hunger, they are suffering from lack of nutrition, they are also suffering from obesity. So, malnutrition matlab maladjusted nutrition, so not balanced nutrition. So, overnutrition and undernutrition both are malnutrition. So, we have the rise in the obesity. That is why Prime Minister in his one of the Man Ki Baat speech has given or the you can say discussion he had, he asked us to have 10% reduction in our oil consumption in our daily food item, so that India should not become a obesity capital of the world, which already getting its tech. India is also considered to be diabetic capital of the world, despite we are having the you can say more emphasis on the healthy lifestyle, right. So, we are finding that nowadays there is a rising obesity, diabetes, lifestyle diseases, fast food basically related or induced basically health issues which are creating concern. There is a you can say concern rising about these kinds of health issues, and fast food play a very important and dominant role in that basically health issues. So, there is a rising awareness. Now, we have a question that is fast food growth again account for or how do you account for the growing of fast food industry given that there is a increased health concern. So, we can say that what is triggering those two things which is paradoxical in nature. On one hand, we are promoting the fast food basically industries also, and at the same time we are also promoting the health concerns or rising health awareness is also basically the case. How they are going hand in hand together. So, first and foremost thing is that again it is based on human psychology also. Human psychology, if they were given two options, one is the option which is convenient and other is an option which is basically you can say healthier, they will always choose convenience over healthier option. For instance, if you cook your food at home and if you order the food through food delivery apps, again cooking food at home will be much healthier than the ordering from some restaurant which will offer you some kind of fast food or other unhealthier form of food. However, because the convenience is more in ordering through just some click on the phone, people prefer to compromise on their health. So, as and when we see there is a rising of globalization, there is rising of industrialization, there is rising of urbanization, the lifestyle of people is transforming. Lifestyle of people is transforming in the sense that they do not have time, and mostly they are working the 24/7 in various cities like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi, Indore, Bhopal. All these cities are basically having the, you can say, corporate culture rising, due to which they are mostly dependent on the, you can say, food delivery apps to deliver the food for basically quick meal, whether it is Swiggy, Zomato or any other thing, right. Similarly, nowadays because of the per capita income is rising, there is a dual income families. So, when we have dual income families, again when both husband and wife are working, there is very limited time left for basically cooking the food, and naturally they are forced to eat the packaged food, which is ready to eat kind of food, which is more fast food. That is also basically compulsion. Similarly, there is also a youth culture. India is one of the oldest country or oldest civilization, but the youngest nation. In that way, we have more than 60% of our population are fall under the age bracket of young population with less than 35 years of age. So, fast food is related with modern lifestyle, where Pizza Huts basically is used for birthday celebration, KFC is used for some you can say treat given to the basically friends or family members, or same goes with other basically fast food, you can say restaurant. So, we can say that it reflects the youth aspiration. Also, we are observing the similar instance in aggressive marketing done by this fast food basically companies, whether it is Domino's 30 minutes delivery or Swiggy, Zomato when 10 minutes or 20 minutes or half an hour delivery. That is something which is affecting the basically masses more. So, the aggressive marketing is also responsible for it. Also, when we discuss about it, we can say that because of the rise in the globalization as well as the blending of the tradition with the modernity, what we are finding that many of the Indian products are packaged in such manner that they are also going to have an impact on making people buy those. So, whether it is Mac Aloo Tikki or Paneer Ginger or Masala Dosa Pizza, all this kind of thing are having some kind of acceptance, which is affecting the people to buy them more, and there is a peer pressure also to pursue this kind of food basically behavior, right. So, this is something which is what we can say are the reason for which the growing fast food industries are basically you can say having. However, this is also true to say that there is also rising awareness among the people. So, today all the companies from time to time again are being pressurized by their own consumer to have their you can say specification of the ingredient mentioned on their package, meaning what kind of ingredient they are putting under, that is supposed to be mandatory. So, for example, many of the companies which are making these false advertisements are being given or serve the notice for misleading ads they are giving. For instance, many ketchup companies are having the tomatoes on their package, but they are having very few original tomatoes, they are having the artificial you can say flavor added to it. There is many chemical things added so that it can become more basically surviving or increase their shelf life. So, these kinds of specification now ensure that people know what they are eating. Similarly, FSSAI is also issuing notice to all those basically food companies to have a clear you can say mention that if some food is good for heart patient or not, if some food is good for children or not, if some food is good for a person with some kind of health issue or not. So, that kind of basically disclaimer should be placed on their package. Similarly, celebrities are also given notice that they also have a stake to basically serve in the nation by generating awareness. If they are promoting some kind of basically brands under the money or influence of some payment, again they are also liable for any consequences which is negative happen due to these kinds of brands. So again, now because of the awareness and basically you can say rising incidental death among many of the youth, again people are becoming more health conscious. So people are becoming more health conscious, they are looking for all these kinds of food items which are not basically adversely impacting their health, rather that would be helpful for maintaining their health goals. So we have many startups which are working on this, who are providing the true nutrition instead of basically making false claim. So here you will be finding the National Family Health Survey report which indicate the rising obesity despite of rising the gym or yoga culture, and healthy rebranding basically like millet pizzas, vegan burgers, bake you can say snacks instead of the you can say used palm oil, and all this kind of marketing and all that kind of thing should be promoted. So again that is also rising. There is a cultural shift where snacking is replaced basically, or traditional meal are replacing the snacks, or some kind of convenience is basically replaced by more basically healthier food. This is also happening side by side. So one can say that both are going hand in hand together, but definitely fast food growth persist despite of the health concern, because its easy availability is there, its basically you can say marketing is there, and many other. So in India its survival rests on the localization and health oriented innovation that will give a people a genuine basically healthier food what they deserve. So this is a growing concern, and that is what we need to look into. 19th question is, achieving sustainable growth with emphasis on environmental protection could come into conflict with poor people need in a country like India. Now, if we discuss about sustainable growth, we can start with our, just give me a moment. So when we discuss about the sustainable growth definition start with the growth that fulfill the need of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generation to fulfill their need. So whenever we go for achieving sustainable growth, what happen is that poor people need in India often went into contradiction or conflict. For instance, again poverty is the biggest polluter is the statement given by our former Prime Minister late Indira Gandhi. Again she has mentioned that the more poverty we are having, the more people are forced to follow the practices which are not very sustainable. Like a poor person does not have the money to buy the cooking gas. So what they will do? They will burn the you can say coal, they will burn the wood, and that will generate smoke, that will also you can say affecting the health of a person who is cooking as well as environment. Similarly, if they have no housing, they are living on the streets, and basically the sanitation of the area will get adversely affected, which also causes many you can say diseases. Similarly, when a poor person does not have any kind of employment, what they will do? They may engage into cutting illegal trees or harming the forest animal by poaching or selling their skin. So these kinds of illegal trade they might engage into, that will also affect our sustainable development. All these are one which are correlated. So in India, where poverty coexists with ecological fragility, the pursuit of sustainable development often is challenging, with immediate need for the poor is to provide them some relief. So when we discuss about sustainable development, it is primarily to seek the long term ecological balance. At the same time, we have to also take care of marginalized group who are our priority in order to basically survive. They should not be forced upon to follow a lifestyle which is basically not affordable by them. So it is something which is you can say two contradictory idea we have to balance. So here what are the you can say achieving sustainable growth with emphasis on environment protection could come into conflict. So what are the issues we have to highlight in this? So first issue is about development versus displacement. So you will never see that whenever a development project is there, rich are being basically opposing it. Most of the opposition come from poor because it is adversely impacting them. So let us take an example of Narmada Dam, Narmada Valley dams, or Sardar Sarovar Dam, or Indira Gandhi Sagar Dam, right, or Indira you can say Sagar Dam. So these are the dams constructed on Narmada River. Now when these dams are constructed in Narmada River, what happen is it will submerge many of the forested area which is resided by tribal, and naturally they are supposed to be displaced and they are objecting to it. Similarly, when we discuss about Hirakud Dam, we discuss about the Tihri Dam, we discuss about the, you can say, Damodar Valley project or Silent Valley project or Niyamgiri project also. Majority of these projects are adversely affecting the tribal, and naturally they are forced to displace from the area in order to basically survive, and that is what the cost they are paying for development, which is not benefiting them at all. So, that is something which is what one of the issue which is before sustainable development, that if there is a development project going on, it needed proper rehabilitation in advance before the pursuit of development. Similarly, we have some kind of, you can say, dependency on the natural resources. So, most of the tribal and rural people rely on forest for the fuel, fodder and the food. So, when a national park is established, when a biosphere reserve is established, there is many eviction of the people living in this area. For example, in project Cheetah or project Tiger, there were many reserve established in Madhya Pradesh or many other states of India, where the local tribal population, Adivasi population with minimal ecological footprint are asked to leave that place. Same goes with Jim Corbett expansion, which curtail the villager access to this area or forested land. So, here we will have a clarity on basically adverse impact on the poor, so whose dependency on natural resources is high. Likewise, we also see that there is also the energy transition inequality. For instance, there are EVs, there are solar rooftops or there are solar panels which are benefiting the elites, while poor have to rely on kerosene, poor has to rely on firewood, again poor has to rely on some basically inefficient fuel. So, that way you will find that there is a clear inequality, and then poor are being blamed for all these kinds of pollution which is caused due to burning of fuel, burning of, you can say, kerosene. Again, government has to look for, you can say, schemes like Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, but even in that way you will find that poor people get it first connection free of cost, but then refilling will be very expensive for them. So, that is another factor. Similarly, you will have the pollution control versus informal work. So, whenever we discuss about pollution control, again what it does is, in most of the city, ban on the construction activities. Again, clean city drive also harm the street vendor or waste pickers. Again, that is also the small industrial workers are being affected. Like for example, in the winter, there is a ban on construction activity in cities like Delhi, in cities where you can say the generators, diesel generator manufacturer or operators are being adversely affected. So, this is also going to have a effect. Similarly, urban poor, especially those who are in slums, are adversely affected because of the, you can say, the changes in the climate. So, when we see slum dwellers, most of the slums are near some local basically area where drainage is there or river is there. So, when there is a over flooding or when there is a over heat waves, again this results into some kind of, you can say, death of many who are mostly outdoor workers. So, in Delhi heat wave of 2024-2025, more than 100 people are reported to have adversely affected and died. Again, most of them are from the poor background. Similarly, there is a agrarian stress. So, in the name of sustainable agriculture, ban on fertilizer, pesticide has causes the agrarian crisis, where you will not have any alternative and farmers' crops are being destroyed. They are forced to have some kind of, you can say, reduce income and the productivity. So, Sri Lanka's failed organic policy is something which is causing the economic crisis in Sri Lanka, which has affected its overall growth. So, they have to shift it back. Right. Then the basically option, what is an option? So, option is to promote eco-tourism, green basically you can say tourism. So, here eco-tourism is also promoting basically some kind of adventure activism, adventure activities or activism in which the livelihood opportunity is given to the poor. For example, in Rishikesh there is a rafting, or in basically you can say homestay in many of the hill station in Shimla or many of Himachal or Jammu and Kashmir. So, that could be basically helping them to generate some income. Similarly, there is a promotion of the environmental rule enforcing from top to down, which is ensuring that the, you can say, people who are poor are not unnecessarily targeted. Similarly, in inclusive work model of Manrega, construction of environmentally sustainable activities like tree forestation, like construction of watershed, again while construction of you can say cattle grazing areas, all these are part and parcel of the you can say aspect. So, one classic case study is Hivde Bazar in Maharashtra near Pune, which has received some kind of ecological you can say sustenance as well as income simultaneously when they shifted from the food crop toward the cash crop, where horticulture is one of the major activities which make the Hivde Bazar one of the village in India having largest number of millionaires. Again, community led sustainability in this background would be more effective. So, instead of having something top to bottom approach, we have to follow a reverse bottom to top approach, where community led sustainability is to be promoted, because people need to understand that they are the one who are going to pay the price if we do not pursue sustainable development. So, here we have example of Odisha community managed forest that reduce the deforestation and also at the same time enhance the livelihood. So, these are the things which we can discuss in our topic, where sustainable growth in India is important, but it is not supposed to risk the basically worsening of inequality, especially the poor. So, true sustainability require the balance between the management of environment and environmental justice along with social justice. So, that is what our basically concluding remark should be on this particular question. We move to this question, which is last one. Does tribal development in India center on two axes, that is those of displacement and rehabilitation? Give your opinion. So, here in this year paper mostly the focus was on the vulnerable sections, weaker sections and what they are suffering from. So, when we discuss about the tribal community in India, we can start with our discussion that our constitution article of 342 and 366 clause 25 define and identify who are the tribal community in India. Their population is approximately 8.6% and that is comparably 10.38 crores. So, when we have this much of population as per our census 2011, they are the one who are minority in terms of their numbers in India as a section of the population. However, when we see various developmental projects, what I was referring to shortly, again majority of the development project adversely impact or disproportionately impact the tribal people, whether it is Narmada Dam, whether it is Niyamgiri aluminium basically you can say mining, or whether it is Tehri Dam, whether it is construction of Hirakud Dam, Damodar Valley project, all this POSCO project in Odisha or various other is historically going to adversely impact the tribal. They were displaced forcefully and there is no proper rehabilitation. So, tribal development, many scholars and sociologists have studied, are centering around two things. One is displacement and another is rehabilitation. So, there is a scholar named Virginius Khaka who called all this basically tribal troubles as form of internal colonialism. Again, there were also displacement due to construction of dams, mining, industries and conservation. So, we have Walter Fernandez in our topic who have studied the tribal communities and found that 42% of the population who are displaced from 1950 till 1990 are tribal. So, if there are 1 crore people displaced, 42 lakhs of them are tribal. So, they have to pay the price of development. This is referred basically as development induced displacement as well as form of or consequence of internal colonialism. So, again what are the basically you can say argument we will be highlighting in this answer. So, first is the same which we have highlighted in the previous question also, that there is a development induced displacement. So, whenever development induced displacement, the price is paid by the tribal or the weaker section only, and that is causing the tribal unrest or tribal confrontation. So, whether it is Sardar Sarovar Dam, whether it is Narmada basically or Gandhi Sagar or Indira Sagar Dam, whether it is Hirakud Dam or other, these treat the tribal land as a resource pool and they are displaced basically in majority. Similarly, in rehabilitation, again often limited cash or small land plots were given ignoring the holistic needs. So, remember tribal are basically not having any land rights when they were living in land for thousands of years. Until 2006 Forest Right Act was not passed, a tribal living in forested area when they were displaced, अगर आपके घर से आपको कोई निकालेगा, you will be having all the rights to get the compensation for it. But Why you are getting compensation when you are removed by government on some project is because the ownership of the land in which you are living or house, you have a certificate or document. However, tribal are not very literate, 59% is their literacy rate. Majority of them are not aware about any requirement of this document proof where they can live in this area. So, what happened? That these basically tribal having no land rights until 2006 were having not properly compensated or rehabilitated also. They often given some petty compensation in the form of cash, which tribal don't know how to spend, and most of them are being duped by the local people and exploited by the, you can say, cunning people. Similarly, if they were given a small plot of land, they were basically not properly compensated. So, when we discuss about it, it is leading to the tribal unrest, tribal poverty and the tribal impoverishment. Then we have the loss of culture. So, एक तो हो गया economic loss the tribal are having. Other is the loss of culture. So, when tribal are living in their area, the tribal are having the loss of their culture, because if they are living in their tribal pocket, they will celebrate the festival, they will have participation of music, dance form, which is preserving the tribal culture. However, when they are rehabilitated in some new place, there is a cultural loss which is not measured through the economic, you can say, cost. So, tribal sacred landscape has been lost, their mode of worship or prayer has been basically, you can say, no more sustained, their languages are riskier to continue, their lifestyle or culture in the form of dressing pattern is being adversely affected, their community identity is having a risk of basically, you can say, eliminated. So, all that is going to be the case. So, we have a case study of Dongriya Kond tribe, where Vedanta company were given mining rights in Niyamgiri hill of Odisha. They were having some kind of, you can say, situations like this. Then there is a new term called as green displacement, where eviction of tribal in the name of forest conservation is there. So, nowadays we are finding that awareness of environmental concern is such that those who are volunteering to protect the environment since centuries, when this green or environmental protection issues were not even risen, that is tribal, are paying the price. So, what we are observing that in many of the places there is a declaration of national park, in many of the places there is a biosphere reserve, and tribal who are living in this area for centuries are asked to rehabilitate, and that rehabilitation or relocation in many places has adversely affected the tribal lifestyle. All these things has created a sense of alienation or separation or estrangement of tribal from their own land, from their own culture, and that is something which is primarily due to non-involvement of tribal in the basically tribal development itself. It is violation of constitutional safeguard also provided to them. So, many of the states have panchayat extension of scheduled area, but they were not basically notified in basically many states. Again, Forest Right Acts is passed, but they were not notified in many states. So, that is unfortunately the reality, where rehabilitation are done in a form of a tokenism. So, small tribal community are rehabilitated, majority of them are left to suffer on their own. So, this is unfortunately the problem we are having, that is basically adversely affecting the tribal community, their marginalization, their unemployment, their indebtedness, their basically unrest. Again, this is resulting into various kinds of agitation, like Narmada Bachao Andolan is there. Tribal basically separate state demand in many places, like Jharkhand was there, Chhattisgarh was there. Now there is a demand for Bhil Pradesh, there is a demand for Bodoland, Gorkhaland. All this are because of that. We are promoting many policies also, like PM Janman scheme is one. Then you can say Vandhan Yojana is there. Then there were other schemes also in tribal area. Unfortunately, their implementation is not appropriate, due to which the tribal stress is basically rising. So, these are the points we will be highlighting in a particular basically content. Now, when we write a conclusion, we will say that tribal development in India is definitely centered around the displacement as well as rehabilitation, and that is reflecting the structural marginalization of the tribal rather than tribal empowerment. So, the need of hour is to promote the empowerment of tribal by promoting literacy, healthcare, as well as providing them some kind of self-sustenance, so that they can live on their own without getting adversely impacted for the basically problem caused to them by the development. So, these are the things which we can offer in a concluding remark, that more and more involvement of tribal in policy formulation, more and more recognition of their culture and the tribal rights, more and more promotion of the community living or livelihood based development should be the solution. so that the development will become not only economic but also people centric, inclusive and sustainable. So, with that we can basically complete our discussion of the society topic. So, if you see the questions are fairly, you can say, to the point, and only if you have basically development of understanding, you can easily address the demand of these questions effectively. So, question may sound some abstractness but or generality type of basically nature, but you can answer in a very specific manner to score higher marks. So, that is something which is all for the day, and as I said always, social issue is one of the lowest hanging fruit in the entire general studies paper 1, and to grab that fruit you have to basically write as much basically specific content as you can. So, with that said, again I hope your examination would have went well and wish you all the luck for your coming optional paper. Again, thank you and have a great time, guys.